Okay, I think we've got G Natural on the mic. G Natural?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time, too. Now, let's just cut right to the chase. You've got an event coming up on Saturday, August 23rd. Can you tell us about it and the location and where people can get the tickets and why should people care?
Yeah, so it's 1 week from today, Saturday, August 23rd. It's called the Elation Hip-Hop Festival. And I am a faith-based hip-hop artist, and a friend of mine, we were just kind of talking about how there aren't that many faith-based hip-hop events here in the city. And so we put one together. And so shout out to my guy, Brian Atkinson, who's the main organizer of this event. But yeah, I've been a part of the faith-based hip-hop scene here in Portland for over 20 years now. And a lot of my friends who, when we were kind of young lions, you know, just starting to come up in the game, and we, you know, realized that there isn't necessarily as big a movement behind us as we are in, or some of us approaching middle age, depending how you define that, and we still got some juice in the tank. So we were like, you know, let's show these young boys how we still do it, and hope to reignite the flame. A passion, a desire for people who want to celebrate and experience hip-hop culture, but from a faith-based mindset, without, you know, so much of the negativity and violence and glorifying, you know, guns and materialism and all that stuff. And so we wanted to put something out positive. So it's an all-ages event. It is from 1 to 5 p.m. So you can bring your kids if you're someone you want to expose your children to good, clean hip hop. And so it's the Elation Hip-Hop Festival, myself, and about 7 or 8 other artists on the bill. And it's a 1 to 5 p.m. at the White Eagle in North Portland.
That's a pretty good room. Have you done a sound check in there yet?
We are rehearsing actually this Monday, so we're going to get in there and get all the logistics dialed up. And but I've seen some events at White Eagle, and I've heard it's a really great place, so I'm very excited.
I think you'll like that space. So we want to make sure that people have an opportunity to come out on Saturday, October 23rd, between the hours of 1 and 5 p.m. at the White Eagle to hear the Elation Hip-Hop Festival event.
Yes.
Where can they get the tickets?
They can go to elationmusic.org. That's ELATION music.org/hip-hop. Hip-hop with a little dash there. And get your tickets there. And it's going to be a great time. It's $25 for a 4-hour show. I mean, you can't beat that.
Good.
Yeah, that's great value. You know what I'm saying? If you're trying to stretch your dollar, you know, it's a good way to go about it.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now I'm going to get down into the weeds with my guest, G Natural. Maybe a month or so ago, people are always looking for opportunities to heal. And there's so many different ways in which people do that. Sometimes people comfort eat. Mm-hmm. Some people go
I know
for
what that's like.
Yes, sir. A walk in the park or a drive through the countryside. Some people will sit down and watch a television set, a music award program, which is what I want to talk about right now. Now, there are so many music award programs. There are a few in particular: the BET Music Awards program, the Black Entertainment Music Award program, and the Soul Train Music Award programs. Now, recently, some of the corporate heads decided to cut that programming off the air completely.
Right.
Now, whether or not there's going to be a sabbatical that goes into, you know, years or months or weeks, we're not sure. But there was a definitive moment when those decision makers decided to cut that programming. Now, it could be because of market share. We don't know for sure. But as a member of the audience, and Brother G Natural alluded to it briefly, I want to get into it with him. There are a number of different award categories, and you can kind of predict the conventional nominees and who will be the winner in each category. But this year's nominees in a particular category, and the winner was very different, and that's what I want G Natural to educate and talk to us about. There was a rap artist that she does what is called I won't say pornographic rap, but I will say there are some pornographic sensibilities that are conveyed in that style of rap music.
Sure.
She won the Gospel of Music Award. You know who I'm talking about? Is it that
Glorilla?
Glorilla.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I know you had a reaction when you talk to us about that.
Well, I mean, let me say a couple of things right off the top. I'm not super familiar with Glorilla's work in general, although I have passing familiarity because in addition to being a music artist, I also moonlight as a DJ. And so when I'm DJing events for schools or corporate parties or, community events, I need to have my finger on the pulse of what people are listening to in general. And so like I put Glorilla in the same general category as, someone like Cardi B, for example, which is someone who makes, hip hop music that at times borders on the salacious, like you said, and the kind of as a way of generating a buzz. Like it's a quick, easy way to generate buzz and interest for your music. If you put something really outrageous, in your music. And so, I think it was Cardi B that did a song a couple years ago called WAP. That stood for a graphic phrase that I wouldn't say on the radio. And so I put in my mind, I kind of fit Glorilla into that camp. But the thing is, I think we need to understand that musicians and pop stars, we're all people. We're all, no matter what image we put out for mass consumption, at the end of the day, we're all human beings. And so I don't know what prompted Glorilla to do this collaboration with these gospel artists. I think it was Dietrich Haddon, I want to say she did the song with. But I think there was something that was stirring in her that had a desire to do something different. And I'm not sure why she won that award specifically. I know there were a lot of gospel artists who felt like, hey, you know what? This is our lane. Like, this is what we do. We do music for the Lord. Why are you giving this other person this award, that in theory could, should go to someone else who's more established for doing this kind of faith-based, gospel-centered music. But my thing is, so there's a couple things that I believe. Number one, I believe firmly that God is not restricted by our genre definitions, right? God is not restricted to moving through just what we think of as Christian or CCM or gospel music. So, in the Bible, God spoke through a donkey, you know what I mean? So that part of it doesn't bother me. I think what is a little tricky is, I think for parents and for mentors, for people who are trying to establish for their children or for the young people in their lives, this like kind of identify healthy role models, it's definitely a mixed message, right? It's a very mixed message to say on this one song, I'm talking about God and Jesus. On all these other songs, I'm talking about stuff that has nothing to do with that. Not only that, but that, I would get kicked out of the church if I started saying all this stuff. So, I mean, maybe these awards people were trying to make a splash. They knew that it would get a reaction. I'm someone, as an artist, I try not to pay too much attention to award shows because I understand there's so much more than just artistic merit that goes into this, and award shows are itself another form of entertainment, right? And so while it's good to be recognized as an artist, and I'm to be clear, I'm not throwing shade on Glorilla. I'm happy she got that award. I'm happy the other gospel artists that collaborated with her also got some shine off of that. But at the end of the day, I'm someone who feels like, ultimately I make my music for God first. Then secondly, for me, like I want music that I want to represent myself in the world and that I'm happy with. And then thirdly, I want to make music that blesses the people in my immediate community, my friends, their children, my family members, et cetera, et cetera. So, if I'm doing all of that, and I get some additional recognition, and that's cool. But otherwise, it's not that big a deal.
My guest is G Natural, who will be in performance as part of the Elation Hip-Hop Festival taking place Saturday, August 23rd at the White Eagle between the hours of 1 o'clock and 5 p.m. And they can get their tickets where, brother G Natural?
elationmusic.org/hip-hop.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to take this opportunity, since he's here with us. Will you please share with us, ad-lib a song of yours that you think would be a good one for the listeners to partake in, and to give them an example of some of your lyrical content?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So I do a song. This is a jazz show, and one of the songs on my record. Let me back up a little bit, give you a little bit of background. So I put out earlier this year in April. I put out a double album project called Doors Wide Open. Doors Wide Open, volumes 1 and 2 by G Natural. And if you're looking on the streamer, it's G with an asterisk, not a dash. Yeah, G asterisk Natural, because I'm extra like that.
A star, like a star.
like a star, exactly.
Yes.
So G Natural, Doors Wide Open, volumes 1 and 2. And on one of these songs, I made a song called Making Moves, and it was kind of an anthem that I created to motivate myself to say, while I'm grateful to have the gifts that I have, I'm also not trying to rest on my laurels. I'm trying to continue to put things in place so that I can reach greater levels of success, and not gas my head up, not have a big ego about it, but to be able to position myself to have more artistic control, to have more financial freedom, to just be in a position to do more of the work that I feel like God put me on the earth to do. And so this song called Making Moves, I'll do a little bit for you right now. But before I get it, I want to say the highlight of this album for me was this song, because I was able to get my friend Eldon T. Jones, an amazing jazz saxophonist.
Yes.
And so he plays on this song, and I played it for him, and he was like, "Oh man, that sounds great, man!" And he was generous enough to step in the studio and record the song with me. So I'll just give you a little taste of it a cappella. This is the hook. It says, "When we're making moves, things are happy, life is beautiful. We're making moves, and it's not too late for you to go get in the groove. Put your trust in God and know that He created you for making moves. Yo, we're making moves. Even though we don't deserve it, we be making moves, hoping that you will observe and then get in the groove. Put your trust in God and know that He created you for making moves." Gia.
Yes. Thank you very much for that. So, is it pre-programmed music, or do you have a band, or what works out for that?
No, I don't have a band, so I do it all electronically.
Nice.
And even I also serve as a worship pastor at Access Covenant Church in Southeast Portland in the Mount Scott neighborhood. And if you come to that church on a Sunday morning, you'll hear me singing, but I make all my music with tracks. And so I have a keyboard. I make digital arrangements on the keyboard, or sometimes it might be an arrangement that I made on my computer at home, and then I put it on a digital turntable, and I'll play it on the turntable that way. But I really enjoy using sampling and digital music technologies to kind of create a richer soundscape than what I am physically able to play on my own. Like I am a keyboard player, and I can play a little bit. There's a lot of gospel and jazz pianists that can play circles around me. So I'm not a great pianist or great keyboard player, but I think I have a rich chordal vocabulary, and I love hip hop. Like, hip hop was my first musical love, and I love being able to make beats and sample beats, and so I learned how to craft these grooves that are influenced by jazz and gospel and funk. And so and because the technology has made it easier and easier to produce that kind of music, and so now I find myself in my most creative element, even though I'm like well into my 40s. When I was a young gun trying to make this music, the technology had not advanced to the point where it was easy to do it. Like, you could do some of this stuff, but it took equipment that costs thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars to do this. And now you can do it with a laptop and a couple of subscriptions to different services, or a couple plugins. So now that's what I like to do.
When we talk about music, we like to talk about form and content. Now, I want to just within the little time we have left, I wanted to let our audience know that G Natural comes from a form, a lineage, a family that has provided a volume of service for a long time in this community. I worked with Pastor Henry Greenidge.
Mm-hmm. That's my dad. I wish you guys could see his face right now. His brain just exploded. I should have said that earlier. I'm so sorry. I want to say I held it in to make for good radio, but that's not even the truth. I just forgot to tell you when we were talking before the show started.
Oh,
but yeah,
my
Henry Greenidge,
goodness.
that's my dad. Yeah.
His dad, I know I'm digressing, but his dad, he is one of the most available spiritual faith leaders you'll ever meet. He always made himself available. The Faith House was located on Northeast MLK Jr. in Shaver.
And
it
was my
a-
church growing up, Irvington Covenant.
Oh, God. Multi-purpose. You know, better than I did. He always, Pastor Greenidge, always made himself available, made the facilities available. He retired and moved south.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Your mom, they
Yeah, so he actually lives in the Atlanta area.
yeah, just and your uncle, Brother David, I knew him before he, got his ordained. Just tremendous, a tremendous family you have, man. And so I can see where you are filling that space, standing in that space of stewardship. I want to ask you,
yes, that's a good way of putting it.
how are you going to? How do you? There's so much traffic that our children have to navigate, and they need, those street aids, the kids that stand with those flags.
Oh yeah.
Walking, what do you call those? Patrols?
The traffic.
Yeah.
The crossing guards, I think, is what we used to call
Do
them
you
back in the
feel
day.
like a crossing guard in this modern day traffic of culture and music and images? And how do you, as a steward, how do you protect the young minds? What do you, and how does in the role that your music plays?
That is an interesting metaphor. You're the first person who's ever asked me that. I think so. I do feel a little bit like a crossing guard in the sense that I feel a responsibility to relay the truth about the world as I see it, but with the desire to be honoring to God as I understand who God is because of my upbringing, and not only honoring God, but also honoring the community of faith from which I come. And so I do kind of see there is a little bit of standing at a crossroads, you could say, of looking out and being able to say, okay, things are changing. There's some good things that are happening. There's some not so good things that are happening. But here's where you can find the light. Here's where you can find some safety. Here's where you can exist in this new round of chaos. And you know what? Let me say this too, because I feel like there are going to be some people, if you run across my music, and this particularly this album that I just put out, this double album called Doors Wide Open, and it's
give me a copy of that. We gotta have you back.
It's a very what's the word? It's a very optimistic sound. Even though there are a couple songs that have like more political edge and kind of have like a prophetic critique, but most of them are pretty optimistic. And the truth is, you could listen to it and be like, brother, are you paying any attention at all? Like, there's a way in which it could feel very disconnected to the reality, to the political reality that we're in. But I chose that theme because my pastor, Pastor Joel Summer at Access Covenant, one of the things he likes to say is that rest is resistance, and joy is also a form of non-capitulation to the status quo. And so I truly believe that even though things are not great right now, there is still an opening, there's still an avenue, there's still an opportunity to live with peace and joy and goodness and faithfulness and righteousness and all these things that, we talk about in the church, but people need in their real lives, And I think, getting back to Glorilla, I think even she in whatever lane that she's created for herself, she knows she needs some of that. We all know we need some of that.
I want to
now
ask you
and
a
again.
question, Brother G Natural. I see an enormity of capitulation in the music industry, and there are apologists that say, well, that's just the business, it's okay. But I'm getting a sensibility from you that while you respect the etiquette, the business etiquette of what they're doing for a living, there still is maybe some questions in there that children are listening to your music. Children are consuming the images that come with these music videos, and you feel okay with that? So I'm trying to ask you about that capitulation you refer.
Well, I mean, I think one of the blessings that I have, being the age that I am, so I'm 48 years old, which I don't know if I should have said that on radio, but it's out there, is I feel like I have a better perspective from a long term of what what effect the music industry can have on people. And I also have seen the ways in which social media has changed the process by which artists are identified and selected and promoted. And so I feel like we've, as a society, man, this is going to make me sound like such an old person, but I think it's true. There's kind of a race to the bottom a little bit, where it's like you've got to do anything you can to collect whatever shred of attention you can, right? Because we're in this attention economy. And so in the short term, to act wild and outrageous, it is a smart business move, right? Because you can get that attention that you need. But then when I see, when I think about people who were doing that when I was that young, when I was in my teens and early 20s, and then I look at them and I think, well, what are their lives like now? How many of those artists now at 40 or 50 stand by all the music that they were making in their teens, 20s, and early 30s? Some do, but some probably don't. Some probably would, if they're honest, they would say that they regret some of the choices that they made. And it's not, I'm not putting the onus all on them, but really what it is there is this industry machinery that, especially as Black people, are the collective pain and toil that we carry growing up Black in the United States is a fertile creative element that then corporate interests want to take and use for their own purposes. And so if you wonder why when you turn on your TV or you listen to, like, you go on Spotify or whatever and you listen to the top 15 or 20 songs in the hip-hop charts, if you wonder why they're all so negative sounding, it's because these people who are looking to maximize their profit do so at the expense of our collective well-being, because they are not promoting music that makes us healthier, that positions us for long-term financial success. Like they promote the music where we act wild and crazy and make fools of ourselves.
He's G Natural. He's part of this Elation Hip-Hop Festival coming up Saturday, October 23rd, between the hours of 1 and 5 at the White Eagle. We sure appreciate you coming down to the station and taking time to share with us the craft, the business, and the driving philosophy that shapes who you are as an artist.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's great to be here.
When you hear from your dad, I cannot. I understand. Everything now is justified in this moment. I can see why you're so well put together.
Thank you, man.
Because your dad and you come from a tremendous family, and when you just tell Pastor Henry Greenidge I said hello.
All right, I will do that.
Oh my God. G Natural, ladies and gentlemen.